It's been a minute, so I don't know if I'm gonna get this working as I need. Uh, but we're gonna wait for just I don't know, maybe like a minute or so. Get people in here. All right. Final message. What's going on, bud? Glad you're in. Actually, let me turn this down. And then who we got? Dylan, how's it going, my man? And Andrew Vasquez. All right. Not bad, not bad so far. You guys, while we're waiting, just let me know what you guys might want to talk about in the stream because I didn't come into this with any real game plan. I saw that a lot of people were talking about it. I'm not personally caught up on like the latest news myself, so I'll probably just be going through that as we go on with the stream and finding out with you guys. But yeah, if there's anywhere I need to look specifically, just let me know. I, you know, is as much of a nerd as I can be about manga and anime, I have zero idea on where to find like the latest information on like anything involving any series really. I'm just along for the ride. Um, let's see. Vogel, how you doing? I'm doing fine, dude. Busy but happy. So that's all I can ask for. How are you doing, my guy? Jack, you say the news of another time skip? Did I see it? No, I haven't seen much of anything. So as I'm going through this today, um, we'll I guess we'll just be finding out together. Um, let me just make sure the right screen's pulled up here, and I guess we'll get started. We got 10 like right off the bat. That's not bad. Um, Saldonics, what's going on? Dylan, there's another time skip for about a year's worth. Okay, all right, a year's worth of a time skip. God damn. Okay. Um, let's do that first. I need to get caught up on the latest and greatest news here. So hopefully there's no like I know we've had like we've typed in this hashtag before and it's just pulled up artists that don't even draw Black Clover things um, using the tag because it just gets views. But hopefully we'll find some news here. Um, and yeah, I have that weird setting too where I get a lot of the Spanish speakers. I don't know why. Maybe they just talk about it more. I don't know. Every time I look up hashtag BC spoilers, I get nothing but Spanish tweets. Um, we got to start talking about it more, guys. Ashen, we know Ashen. So let's see what they said to start with. Dylan, I'm glad you're doing great. Okay, so if there's at least a year, okay, a year of time skip, does that mean Lucius is now hiding behind a kid Julius disguise, or did he disappear into the unknown instead? To everyone's bewilderment, is Damnatio now in the hospital for unknown reasons? I need answers. Those are good questions. So if there's a year of a time skip, that could tell us a few things, right? Um, so I think I like this because then yeah, you have to ask yourself the question like, is he still King Julius in disguise, or maybe did he just come out as Lucius as himself, or as Julius, but you know got black hair now. People can change their hairstyle. Nocta did it. Why can't Julius do it? You know what I mean? Um, that's a good question. I personally, I think I would like it much better if Lucius just stayed Lucius and didn't put on that whole ruse of of staying Julius. Because what real reason is there at that point? It's I don't know. I just don't see why going back to Kid Julius would be beneficial at all. Because at that point, who are we keeping appearances up for? Maybe like the squad, like Yami, Asti. But again, if Noct can change his hair color, Julius can change his hair color. But then again, there's also the explaining of like, okay, so what's the new symbol on your forehead? Which can be explained away with almost any BS argument. So I don't know. I really don't know. Um, Hiding behind a Kid Julius, again, just wouldn't make much more sense because he's been out of the limelight this whole time up until the demon got dropped down on the Clover Kingdom, right? So it just seems like it has more drawbacks than just coming out as yourself and having supplementary like explanations for the new things, like, oh, you're not a kid anymore. What was that all about? It just doesn't seem, yeah, it doesn't seem like it progressed the story like it should. So I'm hoping he comes out as Lucius, and by the time a year goes by, imagine what you could be doing, as far as like you've got Lucifero's heart. Maybe, like I've been saying in my theory videos, I'm thinking that he's going to use that heart to not only time travel but summon other devils into the real world, and also provide them with perfect bodies. So if you guys haven't seen the latest ones, really just the idea behind that is that if Lucius happens to be the main aspect of what the triad was, which would in this case would be like pieces of himself, he could very well have all of their respective magic. And if he does happen to have something along the lines of like DNA magic or something like that, then it would be easy to make an actual body for the devil that needs one. So if he wants to bring out the rest of Magicula, well, we're going to use our body, bone, and blood magic mixed in with the DNA magic to create this vessel from the ground up. And as I was explaining in like another post, there's some Hyperborean things and Atlantean things that happen when someone is born. So every vessel attracts a soul into it. So by creating this vessel, he's creating a vessel for a soul, just like we saw in the Elf Arc, to come down into it. But then the Atlantean part is that Atlanteans were very specific about not having just one soul, but having two. So if he creates the vessel, they get that soul, and then the other soul would be the actual devil. Now, how they're going to make it so that the devil has the brunt of like the body, I guess. I'm not sure, but it's going to look a lot like looks right now. Is they're going to have two grimoires, two attributes. And maybe in Magicula's particular case, maybe even more, because she's able to utilize like stolen souls attributes, but she would have to steal more souls, of course, for that to happen. But that's at least my personal preference, of course. They're my theories. Why wouldn't they be? But you guys let me know what you think. Let me take a look at the chat because I see it going off. Two things I've seen the most talked about with the news is Asta's height and Noel's age for reasons. I've seen the Noel stuff already. It's kind of goofy. And it's right here on this Mimosa thing as well, I guess. Wonder how much stronger the squad will be after you. So that's the thing, right? This is really going to depend a lot on what Lucius decides to do with everyone, right? Because he doesn't need every single person. Actually, like, most of those people would be detriments to his existence within the Clover Kingdom, right? So, I wouldn't be surprised if we come back in the year, and they're like on the run, or fighting these absurd battles against maybe we can even come out with Supreme Devil, like just fighting. That would be kind of hype. I don't think the series needs that. I think we would appreciate more a more information-based chapter, introduction at least, to what's going on right now. But Tabata's also done that with having a fight. So we'll see. I think it would be really cool to incorporate that sort of stuff. But yeah, 1 year training is no joke. But let's say he does go back into like a more passive role, maybe as Kid Julius. Maybe they won't exactly be training, because, not to say that they just like lounge around while there's nothing going on, but if you don't know exactly what you're training for, it's going to be very hard to know what that power creep is going to look like later on, right? So that's why Asta ends up getting waxed every single arc, and then has to make a comeback, because you don't know this whole time. We were introduced to an elf early on. Okay, this is the limit here. This is what I need to bring my standards up to. But then we had a devil come out, Zagrid, and no one was prepared for that. So we don't. It's hard to train for that if you never see it coming. Now, on the flip side of that, you could actually just train against the 50% Lucifero they all did. So if we can all get up to at least a good enough level to subdue a 50% Lucifero with, I won't say little to no problem, because that would be ridiculous for a year skip, but with much less of a problem than they had, then that would be reasonable, I think. But yeah, it's going to be really tough to say that they were training for, this big epic battle with Lucius, right? Really excited for Lucificus. Like, Jesus, I'm ready for that reveal. I need him out. I think he's got to be one of the most anticipated devils to come out right now. Let me go back to the chat, guys. Final message. You're more excited for Star Magic when your training is right. Oh, I see what you're saying there. Okay. Yeah, Star Magic should be legit, especially now that he's got his mom. It'll be really cool to see, because obviously they have celestial magic, right? So she would have a better understanding of how his star magic could be being utilized, right? I think that would be super dope. Yeah, might be the most hype development that we get, but also I've really been leaning into this, being like Lucius's true vessel, but like more involved with the Beelzebub stuff. Because Beelzebub he's not done. I don't think he's been done for a very long time. So response, what if Lucius set their parents back in time to split apart House Silumillion so House Kira can rise up to the throne? That would be interesting. You can do so many things to mess up a timeline. But I will argue this. And it's going to be tough to explain, and I know I'm good at talking in circles, but try to at least understand what I'm going to say. I don't think time travel has happened yet. But at the same time, it has happened. Because time is linear, and there is no beginning or end, right? And the consensus is that the experience what you experience right now, is happening in the past, the future, and the present all at the same time, as well as like woolly mammoths roaming the tundras for food some millions of years ago. That's all happening instantaneously, but also separate of each other, right? What needs to happen here is, for time travel, is you need to be able to manipulate gravity. Most specifically, you have to attain the power of anti-gravity, as we kind of explained in that theory about the Antichrist being Lucius. And by the way, getting demonetized for talking about things that happen in history is pretty wild. I'm not gonna lie. Not demonetized, but like they limited the monetization stuff because I mentioned Hitler. I get it sensitive, but it happened. They're facts, and I can't help that. That was kind of ridiculous. Bad YouTube. But anyway, access to anti-gravity, the manipulation, the free use of gravity, to be able to warp space, and then just to have the time magic like right there at his disposal to enhance that, would create that ability. So, what I'm thinking is that if any time travel had happened, it started right when he got that heart. But then again, they also still have the chance to disrupt that moment. So if they're able to disrupt the moment that he's able to go back in time, then they can wipe out all of those separate things. So that's kind of my idea as far as the time travel stuff goes. You guys are talking a lot. I'm sorry. I'd like to scroll through here, but I do want to get to like some of your comments and questions. Last night I came across a lie of Julius that I had to realize. In chapter 215, Julius says he used the Swallowtail to store magic to come back. Right, I've been thinking about that. Let me finish what you said in your second. We can see that the Swallowtail device was destroyed when... Okay, so that was one of the things that I was even thrown off about when he first mentioned it, because and we'll probably find the post, because I wanted to go back into some other theories or thought topics that I wrote about Julius earlier on. But yeah, when he first said it, and I think I even had messages between me and Broku talking about it as well, about 2 years ago. That means that that wasn't the only Swallowtail device. Either that, or he lied, or that is our first instance of time travel, or sort of like manipulation of events to where it didn't get destroyed initially. So it is a source of mystery still, and now that we know Osteroth is involved, uh, it's hard to say what is the truth and what is not, which is the beauty of Lucius right now. It's really cool. But yeah, very good point. Andrew, still hoping for Asta True Devil Union to be similar to the Berserk armor, something like anti-magic Berserk armor. Yeah, I think that would be cool too. I think it's going to lean a little less off of like, I don't know, it's hard to say. Because my personal preference would be like they just turn into one actual demon, like they were going to um, in the Luciferial fight towards the end there. But yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that either. Um, Black Knight, I wonder how good Magna has become with his. I mean, at this point, he should have his chain back, so that's good because we need that in the tuck for real. But we can't waste it on like a low level like Dante. You know what I mean? Dylan, how many pages do you think we are getting? Dude, I don't know. I've never been one to care about pages. I just want to know what's inside. Like, as long as the content is good and we get the information we want, that's all I need. That's all I need. I've read Black Clover 5 times already, and I can't believe that was sure. Yeah, that's a fact. But there are always just weird things going on with Julius, right? EJ Mono, what's going on? Kubel, Jack, I'm telling you, Julius is 28. All Wizard Kings and maybe Asa's father. Are you saying that all the other Wizard Kings are 28 as well? Final, man, you discussing real life events in your latest video was really. I've actually really been enjoying the last couple of videos. This whole Lucius Master Plan playlist, by far my favorite thing I've ever done on the channel. Like, I like talking about real life stuff, but also talking about the manga with it. Dope. You can't really beat that. Josuke! I'm glad you're here, bud. I don't think I've had you in one of my streams yet. But yeah, dude, Josuke, your streams have been going off, by the way. I've actually had time to like tune in and listen, and I really like the ranking stuff you guys have been doing. It's been really fun. Um, let's keep going. Oh, Julius is all 28 Wizard Kings. Maybe. Yeah, it's totally possible. But would you be including Lumiere? Because I don't think he would be that one, personally. Okay. Let's get back to BC spoilers. What else? Uh, um, let's not look at the latest. Let's look at the top. That's where I went wrong. One smart. What's going on? Oh, there's a lot going on in here. What is this? Oh, those look like YouTube things. Time skip of more than a year confirmed for BC. More than a year. Okay. The final arc saga note. You know, speaking of Magna, for whoever brought that up, I'm curious to see what Zora can do, because I don't think we saw a good showcase of Zora, to be completely honest. So those who become the strongest Wizard King, is the saga, is that the name of it? Interesting. Okay. Those who become the strongest Wizard King. I don't know. I think time is about to start getting real weird in this series, to be honest. And who's to say that this time skip isn't like an intentional time skip, right? At this point, like as far as like using Osteroth's magic. Asta, please be taller than Noel and Mimosa after the time skip. No, no thanks. No thanks. You've seen the chapter. Is the chapter leak already out? Or is Nick just lying? He's probably lying. That Nick guy. Um, Helix, do you think Veto was the beast that killed Jack's dad and then was killed by Jack? During a reread, I thought its design had some similarities to Veto. I don't think that, but I don't think it's impossible. Um, that would be interesting, right? As far as its design, I always just assumed that it was, one of those beasts that had a lot of magic. They explained that in the beginning that those things do exist, and they're kind of like in line with what's it called? Those high magic regions, right? So almost like a mutation of sorts, I guess. That's how I took it, but you could very well be right. Um, all I need is for Asta's Devil Union armor is the helmet to give it. Yeah, you just want the helmet. I don't know. I just kind of want a whole new person for True Devil Union, or a whole new demon at least. Asta should remain short. I agree. Smart. I agree. I agree. Asta's trending. All right. I'm not seeing much news. Is that all the news there is? Like, am I just looking for nothing? Um, Timeskip Asta and Noel are going to be down bad for each other. I had dinner with Tabata and his wife, and we talked about it over ABC soup and red Kool Aid. You know what? Sounds like Tabata and his wife right there. We'll like that one up. That's how discussions are had. Um, yeah, they are all adults now. How? Hey, someone answer this for me. How old is Nash now? Is he old enough to like have a grimoire and then die, and for me not to look like a bad person for when he dies and I celebrate? Because that's the important thing I need to know. I have Josuke and Broku in the chat. My day is made. My day is made. Broku, my man. Also, Broku, have you dropped your video yet? We were talking a lot about Lucius and Hungry Joker and all that stuff, so I've just been wanting to see that video, to be honest with you. Um, Vogel, I hope we see Yami's Beast do something. I know that's what I've been asking for since the beginning. I thought it would be super cool because Yami does have some like particular vibes that co-align with like Hades, right? So you get Cerberus, which I believe he does have a three-headed dog and everything. So, um, yeah, I hope he does. It would be really cool. And if even if him and Lucificus are like the same being or they become one, and he has those beasts and he demonifies them for like, bruh. Like we could do some really cool stuff. And the coolest thing is that I don't think Yami, or not Yami, but Tabata has written himself into any kind of corners. Like you can go anywhere right now, and it would make sense. There's enough things in BC for things to stay just vague enough but specific enough to write just about anything into it. So I'm looking forward to it a whole lot. Nash was 10 at the start of the series, so how many years in are we now? So he's probably like 13, maybe 14 then, I feel like. Um, that video is rendering now. Good. All right. I think I have your notifications on anyway, so it should let me know, but YouTube is just bad at that sort of stuff anyway, so I'll be looking forward to it, but also like message me when you drop it because I want to watch it. Um, Nash was 10. Okay, yeah. I thought it would be like a new version of Soul Chain Deathmatch, a new version that allows you to attach to an ally to split the. Yeah, that's what I had made a post about that as well. There's so many cool ways you could apply Soul Chain Deathmatch, and like I thought about the same thing, attaching to an ally. While that ally might be getting dragged down a bit, if they have it to spare, then it would be really cool for someone like Magna to be able to, you know, to have more magic. But he also doesn't have like the greatest ability ever. His best one for me is the Invisible Fireball. I think that is the most hype spell that he's got. Other than that, the rest are pretty subpar. So he would need a bit more than that to be able to be of use, in my opinion. Another way to use Soul Chain Deathmatch is I prefer if this is what I wanted him to do during the Lucifero fight was to muster up even just like a second's worth of the Soul Chain Deathmatch, so that not only is the mana halved, right, it puts them into a better position to defeat this bigger threat. But they only have a second to do so, so it means everything, and kind of give us that like final showdown that Yami and Dante and Asta were having when Asta was about to land that final blow, right? Like that was all within a second. So something like that would be super super dope. You know, as opposed to just like how he used it against Dante, because there are a lot of flaws in that fight I just really didn't like when I went back to go read it again, because you know, although it makes sense with like Dante's personality, like he really could have still washed Magna with gravity magic, but he chose not to. So I really don't understand what the motive behind that was. Well, I do. He's just prideful, and you know, he wanted to beat Magna at his own game, and he failed. But yeah. Broku, Nox will be 30 after. Yeah, 30. So, speaking of Nox, we've got to look at, like, what was his deal, right? Because we had saw in the manga panel that when he tells Asa, oh, I've been watching you for a long time, that included, like, some childhood moments that should not have been included, right? You know, child Asa and child well before they got the Grimoires, and then after they got the Grimoire, the little fist bump, he got that. So, like, what is the real agenda? And I'm almost tempted to say that he was never supposed to be looking for Asa. He was looking out for Yuno. We know that he was sent, or, well, rather, Morgan was sent to the Spade Kingdom to spy. Now, he obviously knew CL, and he knew the Spade Revolution Force, or whatever they call themselves, right? The Ginyu Force of the Spade. And so having known that CL is alive and well, along with the rest of the anti-Spade group, whatever, I forgot what they're called. Knowing that, I would say that he was probably looking out for Yuno to make sure that he would be okay and that he's being tracked and looked over. Making sure that everything's going according to plan, because I don't think it was an accident that he ended up with the elf soul of Lick's child and having two grimoires. I think that was planned by them. It's the whole Hyperborean thing. So the only thing that makes it tough to commit to that is that in the meeting, Yuno really wanted to go, and Nox denied him at first, and then as Yuno started, getting all worked up and showing a bit of his magic off, he was like, okay, I like people like you. What that tells me is that maybe he didn't know Yuno before that, or if he did know Yuno in that moment and who he was and what he was wanting to keep him out for the express purpose of making sure that he stays alive. But seeing his grit and how he is, he might have just been like, okay, like, he's going to survive this for sure, and had that much faith in him. So, I don't know, but Noct is under question. He always has been for me. He's had some cool moments, but I think what's going to come into play is, what good and evil truly look like. The line will be blurred, and I think Noct is still, he's not going to be like the old Noct where he was into devils and all that stuff. But he might have still a bit of a skewed outlook for the typical idea of good. But again, using the vehicle of evil to achieve good results. There's a huge difference in an evil character and a good character versus someone who uses evil to achieve something good, or someone who uses good to achieve something evil. You can do both. So yeah. What is this? So Andy, I don't know this person. Predictions for the time skip. Gold and non-captain are close to being promoted. Do we want back in the Clover Kingdom, guys? You let me know. I know he said he wanted to, uphold that promise. But, I don't know. Maybe he will be captain. Because if Lucius is, like I'm thinking, like he's looking for, to be his vessel, the perfect one, um, then having him closer would be better. So being promoted to captain might be good. And William is in no shape, I don't think, to be a captain, especially after all of this. And he should just die, because as long as he exists, things like this will happen. Uh, Noelle has a ponytail like her mother. I don't care about hairstyles like that. Finesse and Finral are already married, or their wedding already has a date. It'd be cool if one of them were dead, like Longreese or Finral. Uh, that would that would start things off, I think. Or even Finesse, isn't she like terminally ill? Actually, um, Yami and all right, we're done. um, cool. I think that's a Noel drawing. I'm not seeing anything wildly interesting. Was that all the news that we had? Um, it's been so long. I forgot to use. Yeah. People rejoicing about the time skip because Austin. Yeah, I don't care about the ships like that. I really don't. Um, what is this? Before I even look at it, 4chan. I probably won't look at it. Uh, Maybe I should. It looks like it could be interesting. I can't believe it's coming back. Let's fucking go. What? They're not going to talk about what this picture talks about. We'll see. Let's see. Uh, well, that's loading. Let me see what you guys are saying. The time skip makes it so that it's 3 years since Oscar got his grimoire. Okay. So yeah, Nash isn't even close. Anyway, Nash should still die. He's the number one hater. I hated him since the beginning. Everyone's talking about, oh, Asta's so annoying. All he does is yell. Yeah, Nash is annoying. I didn't even like it when he sided with Yuno. Like he's just awful. um, let's see. Magna with his customized broom and chain spell gives Mag Ghost. Oh yeah, it does actually. I didn't put that together, Helix. With his broom and then the chain. Yeah, that is like super wild Ghost Rider vibes. I know people were talking about it when the chain came out, but I don't think anyone ever included the broom part. That's cool. That's a good point. Maybe Devil Union with Mephisto set up by Nox. Yeah, that'd be really cool. And now that we know that Lucificus and Osteroth are completely different, what it does is it kind of throws off a little bit the Faust legend, right? Because in the legend, he's met by Osteroth. But there are other legends, variations of it, that he instead meets Lucifuge, which makes more sense and aligns more with the series. As far as in the Book of the Red Dragon or the Grand Grimoire, what's it called? Lucifuge Rofocao is the one that you want to talk to be able to make a contract with anybody or anything. And I already kind of went into like why that would be important, that it's Lucificus is Lucifuge Rofocao, because if he was able to make that contract, he can make any contract that he wants, because Lucifuge is the one who writes them out. So I think that was the purpose of that. But yeah, I thought that might be interesting, maybe. Broku said on Twitter regarding Julius turning 15. Julius is turning 15, huh? Would he get a grimoire? He does. He would technically have another soul. See, that's the weird thing, because I think that Julius was possibly the first vessel that housed a devil perfectly, right? So this goes back to what I was saying in the beginning, where we start summoning these devils and we can make a body from the ground up. So it has room for two souls: the soul that is driven into it innately, and then the devil soul that it corresponds to. So it could be that, and the whole having no origin, his grimoire having no origin and having only one page and then growing exponentially over years. It seems like if it doesn't have an origin, that means that you are more closely related to a devil, right? So then I have to look at guys like Noct, who has no origin source on his grimoire, and even Morgan's grimoire has been hidden from us. His whole magic attribute has been hidden from us. I know it says light, but what kind of light? You know, it's tough to say. And then you would think that Yami fighting Patri in the beginning, he would make some references to like, okay, I fought with a light mage, so how would I go about fighting against one? But then again, he also did have some knowledge, I guess, that I think he. I don't know. It's just hard because I was gonna say that he knew that the light would be attracted to the darkness, to offset Patri's attacks, and the thing is that that's just what his magic does. It it redirects the course of anything coming its way. So it's definitely just hard to say for Morgan. But anyway, having one page and no origin, I felt like, okay, that's got to be the fact that he's a devil and a host. A perfect host for it. But as far as the second Grimoire coming, maybe him dying was that plan, to be able to get that second one for Astaroth before he jumps to you now, right? Okay, some overall ideas. Control manipulation, puppetry shackles, lack of restraint can also be bad. Wait, what is this picture about? Did they just... Is this all about Vonica? Why do we need to talk about Vonica specifically? Vonica turns Lolo into a marionette, but she also releases Lolo Petra's shackles in a sense, allowing her to use attacks, saying it feels good to rampage. Okay. Diamond soldiers become puppets. Lolo Petra has water puppets. Okay. What's the point here? Because we know Lolo Petra's sketchy, but like, what's the... Oh, these are just things they noticed. Okay. I think these are pretty obvious, right? Visually, it's clear that they are now aiding her. And okay, yeah, these are like, I think they're going to be painfully obvious, so I'm not going to continue. Now Vonica is being bound by string. Yeah, I don't think we need this. Yeah, I'm gonna get back to this chat because you guys are still talking down here. One smart, he said, Luck uses runes to use virtually infinite natural mana, is the perfect partner for Magna to use Soul. That is true, actually. There you go. That would be a really good matchup. Or not matchup, but a team up. As it proved to be against, well, not proved to be, but looked like it had promising features against Veto, right? Magna Soul Chain Deathmatch, but with more range, so Magna can get mana battery. Well, oh, I see, okay. So, like, who would he... Ooh, maybe attach it to, like, Augustus Kira, right? So that he's got a bunch of mana, and Augustus can't fight anyway. So, using it for Magna's sake instead would be much better, I think. That's a thought. Yeah, I like that, Black Knight. Vogel, it would be cool if one of them were dead. If one of who were dead. Is it something I said? That is in quotes. I just want Magna dead. Not Magna, jeez. Nash. I need Nash dead. And Henry. I've needed Henry dead for a minute. And Tabata hasn't delivered, so big fail on Tabata, actually. Black Clover, chapter 332, my prediction. Okay, so this is Aldonix's prediction. It starts with Asta on a mountain without an eye and wearing a black cloak and tells Liebe, I messed up everything, looking down at the apocalypse. Oh, that'd be interesting. It gives the vibes of the end of Fight Club, where it's like he's watching the buildings crumble and collapse, the banks, and he's like, you met me at a very weird time in my life. And the problem was himself. So I would like that. Any Fight Club reference I'll take anyway. How many legends does Osteroth? Osteroth has exactly one legend. And it's very hard to explain because Osteroth is more than one being, essentially. So I'm sure a lot of you have realized, like, anytime you look up anything about Osteroth, well, it started out as a woman and then became a demon, and that's what changed his sex, apparently. Now he's a guy. Looks over contracts, will tell you anything, past, present, future, and will teach about, I believe, science and becoming invisible, also having control over snakes, but is under the belief that they were unjustly punished by God. So this is even talking about them in the aspect of them being Astarte. And if that's the case, what's happening here is that we're going far past just basic Judaism, basic Christianity, and any of that. What that implies by any religion that has Astaroth within it has to acknowledge Rosicrucian beliefs, Golden Dawn beliefs, but which ultimately lead back to the Gnostic thought that the Creator God is just a Creator God and is not really good, actually. But the actual God, which is called the Bythos, is so far removed from any of this creation, this universe, that he barely really understands that we exist. All that he understands is that, number one, he exists. Number two, Sophia, one of the branches of this Bythos, branched off from him without his consent, which created this being that was called the Aldabaoth. And I made the theory on that, and how Asa would be related to that, as well as Liabe. But that's what it's alluding to, because Astarte is not a part of any of your main secular religions like Catholicism, Judaism, Christianity. But with the tale of Astaroth, you have to include those things. And I believe it's with Astaroth that these stories and legends of people selling their souls to the devil start, because that's who they're met by initially. And in fact, Lucifuge Rofocal is relatively new. I think Lucifuge is the second newest addition to any lore on Hell. And the newest one, I believe, is still Belial. And we found sources of Belial in the Dead Sea Scrolls not too long ago when I was a kid. So that's the same lifetime discovery. So Belial might not intentionally be included by name, but Belial is more so an idea than a demon anyway, which makes a lot more sense. But yeah, so anyway, yeah, there's a lot of legends, or not a lot, but there's like a singular legend for Astaroth, but you have to acknowledge everything else that precedes his time as a devil. Wait a minute, Nox has a 4-leaf clover. Look at 323's last page. I don't see. The thing is, if I pull it up on here, it's just going to blur. So I'm going to look at it on my phone. 323. You said, what page are we looking at here? So I've never seen one thing on Nox Grimoire. Going through it, I see not. There's no Grimoire out right now. Still, well, there's Yami and Morgan. Still no Grimoire for Noct. Oh, dude, okay. So that's what I've been talking about for so long, and no one wanted to indulge me. We're done with the BC spoiler stuff. There's really there's nothing actually being said on here. I want to get the exact idea I had up, right? Because yes, in that chapter, let me be more grammatically specific here. In that chapter, they show his grimoire, and it is this that you're talking about. This little cross symbol, and that's not a clover. Like, I'll stand on that. That does not look like any clover we've seen. That looks more like a cross. Now, oh look, Broku commented on this too. So here's the thing, is that this is a pre-contract with any devil that he got. So what that tells me is, wait, was it? Yeah. I explained it in here. This is on the fly, and I haven't thought about this for a minute. So let me see. Was it with Nate I had this conversation with, or is it someone else? Oh, it was with Dylan. Okay. So, dude, we got into a back and forth. I remember this. So I was like, dude, I'm showing you the evidence right now, Dylan. I'm like, what are you talking about? Okay, this might be funny for Dylan in the chat. So Dylan said, I think it's due to him being contracted to four devils that caused it to go away. So someone brought that up a long time ago, and I tend to disagree because Tabata made it very clear that the devils in the kind of pack that he has are separated by relics, and that is true. So that's the point of the relics, to make sure that they are separate from the user entirely. And the whole point of the Faustian, like, summoning rituals, it's completely separate from, like, things like the Solomon rituals and stuff like that. The Faustian way is that you need to get the devil to work for you, and you only, and you don't work for them. So by separating the devil into the relics, make sure that the user has that control. And that's all that Noct brought into this, too, so it aligns pretty perfectly with the sources that I was looking at. While they don't use, like, all the things, like, you need, like, a blasting rod and stuff like that to keep these devils in check. He doesn't use that sort of stuff, but the idea is the same. But I say, not to say it's not plausible, but you'd also think that the Triad would have Blink Grimoires for sure as well. So the only argument I have for this is that this is possibly because of the amount of devils that he has, 4-1. Yes, I get the power difference, but I don't think that would affect it that much, rather than the amount, in my opinion, could be way off. See what you're saying, but the power differences between the Triad's devils and all four of Noct's devils are galaxies apart. If I'm not mistaken, there's a panel where it shows him at the age of pre-packs. Yeah, oh yeah, there is another... Wait, yeah, hold on. Aside from this one, there is another one before this. And he's got no mark. So this mark is very specific to this time that it was shown in, where he's standing next to Yami right before they launched Children's Playground. First he doesn't have it, then he has it here, and then he loses it again. So it just kind of made me wonder, like, about Noct in general. And I played with the idea of, like, maybe Morgan, like, the Morgan and Noct identities have been just, like, mixed and matched, right? Because even Julius, when he saw Noct, did not register that that's Noct, not Morgan. So I think there's something more going on. Maybe Morgan isn't... I don't know. It's tough. But I'll say this. Not that it really, like, explains much, but when it comes to, like, shadow magic, right? It's... Noct and Morgan are complete anomalies at face value, because they are identical twins, meaning their DNA is the same. Big words, DNA. So their magic should be the same, right? Now, the thing with that is there's a lot of, like, headcanon ways you can explain why one got shadow, one got light. Sure. More symbolic reasons than anything. The only thing is that magic is genetic. That has been proven time and time again throughout the series. Magic is genetic, right? You don't just have someone from the Rollercase family that doesn't have spatial magic, right? They've been trying intentionally to make sure that that gets passed down, which is why their marriages are arranged. The Vermilions, all fire mages. The Silvas, with the exception of Nozel, which is actually a perfect Punnett square. If you guys have studied that in school yet, it's basic biology. One parent had to have had Mercury, or we know that she had steel, excuse me, which means Papa Silva had water magic. Now, blending the two, you would get Mercury, and it's called a living metal for that reason. And then the rest have variations of water magic, where Noel and Solid have actual water magic, whereas Nebra has an offshoot of, like, vapor or mist type of water magic, right? So all of that, genetic, that means that one of the parents would have to have had light magic, which I doubt was the case, because we have had light mages documented throughout time, and it's a sign of royalty. so they would have a much higher position. Not to say that the Foss don't have a high position. We've gone over that history before. However, it's out of the norm for just, I won't say completely random, but a random family to have a random light mage and the parents don't have it. Now, given we haven't seen the mom's magic, we've just seen the dad's, but the dad's is the exact same as Nox. So it's really just tough to say overall. But when it comes to shadows, there are four different types or four parts to a shadow. There's, oh god, the Umbra, the pre-Umbra, and some other bros in there. But there's four different types. There's the lightest one, and who knows, maybe that could be more fitting of Morgan's magic. I just don't think it is light as we've seen it in the series so far, at least. But yeah, that I was confused as to why you were saying like, oh, that was he's got a 4-leaf because he doesn't. But I see what you're saying. Yeah. What else? What else? Weird thought, but I want to see Asta turn his wings into arms like Lucifera. I mean, it would be cool. It'd be useful. We need an explanation for that, though. I thought that was really odd, and not even a Dremelec was like, yeah, that's weird. It was clearly expected, so I hope we do get information on that. So Onyx, you are not. I get what you're saying. Black Knight. I wonder if Veto can still use Demon Beast magic with his death and reincarnation stuff for the second time. Maybe. I wouldn't put it past him to not be able to do it again. Thing is that I think we have to really, and I've tried talking about this before, but I think I'm just really bad at verbalizing more complex things in simple ways. We kind of have to look at the species we've been introduced to, full-bred species. And they don't grow in power, is the thing, right? So we've seen every single one of the Eye of the Midnight Sun go through their personal, struggle. Like, Raya has been at his endpoint. We saw Lyra at his endpoint. We saw Veto at his endpoint. We saw Fauna at her endpoint. Now, the thing about it is that why are you still making sounds? Didn't I just mute it? The thing about it is that neither one of them unlocked a new page or a new spell. Instead, they defaulted into forbidden magic, where they had to draw power from an entirely different dimension to be able to overcome their own limit. Whereas humans grow in power. And this was the biggest thing that they had to, that they observed, that Magicula observed, was that humans and their power of emotions, not to say elves don't have emotions, but it's obviously different for some reason for humans, that they're able to evolve mid-battle. And then you have to go into okay, so we look at Raya. How do you grow a power like copy magic? Well, you don't really grow it. You just go around touching grimoires and you acquire new attributes with your same power level. Or you would have your same power level, right? Licht. I think Licht is when I started really leaning into this, because Licht has sword magic. I'm only laughing because I'm still on board with him having light magic. It makes sense that it's not labeled light, but come on. Anyway, the fact that he had sword magic, right? And then had these tools made to supplement his magic. It really kind of drives the point home that they weren't able to evolve their spells, because you wouldn't need tools to do that. But if he has these tools that have varying abilities and applications, then that is a way that he can become, he can evolve his game and really step it up. Because in this thought, an elf can't just naturally do that. While they can attain a grimoire that gives them specific spells, I believe that it was all probably just there for them already. And they're not able to unlock those pages. So that's my personal belief. We just haven't seen any full-bred species other than human evolve mid battle, and we know devils have a static power system as well. And I don't think it's completely out of line that to say that elves and devils are closely related, as we did see Patri turn into a dark elf and Licht turn into ancient demon. I, I just think that's how it goes, honestly. Um, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some more forbidden magic. Maybe even see Patri do it, since he is more closely connected to the other world than everyone else. Who knows? But we definitely need more forbidden magic. I was really hoping to see some this arc, and we just didn't get it. And it's just been a one-time thing that we've got it. So I that's the part I don't like that Tabata has done, but I have complete trust that he's going to go over that at the right time, which is got to be this arc. Um, Final personal question. Uh, you've read about demonology and occult stuff. Do you feel any weird presence at night or some weird experience? That's actually a good question, dude. I used to be so superstitious. Like any of the books that I have right now, if I had them, let's say like 8 years ago, I would be like burning them and then like putting it into like, the ashes into like the ocean or something. I'd be so superstitious. But the thing is, um, I'm not just reading about demons. So like the books that I share with you guys um, are of course about like demons and all that stuff, and but there's supplements to those books like Gnostic teachings, Judaism, uh, Christian books, the Book of Enoch, things like that, where you get to really delve into the philosophy. And the idea is that I'm really going into like the Gnostic belief system a whole lot because they provide answers where a lot of other religions or philosophies will lead you to, oh, that was just like a magical happening. Um, so the thought behind it is that a lot of these philosophies, like even the common ones, will get into this section where it really just drives home the point that God only exists if you allow him to exist, right? So that it's somewhat of a man-made construct. And the same thing goes for everything else. So I think going into that philosophy has really comforted me. Um, and the whole experience is a spiritual journey. So when we look at things like the Klipot, the Sephiroth, all that, those are self-actualizing journeys. They're not like, oh, this, Raphael is in, this sphere of the Sephiroth, or Archangel Michael is in Hod, which is astoundingly low. Everyone does not want to mention that, but, uh, you know, Archangel Michael is not all that. Um, what else? And same with the demons. These are the darker side. It's psychology, is what it is. Psychology, astronomy, and all that stuff, all in one picture. And I talk about that in to a really detailed extent in my earlier videos, because I found it really fascinating. But to answer your question, no, I do not feel any of that. I feel more at peace than I've been in a very, very long time, just mentally and all that stuff, because I'm a very spiritual person. I don't necessarily believe in one specific religion, but I do pick and choose, like, okay, this makes sense. And if the lines lead me somewhere, that's where I'm going. And like I said, kind of leaning more into like the Gnostic belief system. But that's just me. Appreciate that question, though. If Magicula died within Vonica, does she still possess some memories or powers from Magicula? I have a weird theory. She's a sacrifice to Witch Queen and Witch... Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. So, you're asking if Vonica still has some of the powers that Magicula... I would think that she does, because she has a very unique relationship, just like Asta has a very unique relationship to Liebe. I wouldn't be surprised if she still held on to some curse magic. But yeah, as far as the Witch Queen part goes, I believe Broku and I talked about it. Either me and Broku or me and Wizard King Minato. Or all of us. So I think the idea is that my personal, like, the only relationship I care about right now is who is Lucius's woman crush Wednesday, and I do believe full heartedly it's the Witch Queen, and I think that as soon as she saw fate start changing in real time, and we're not talking about the threads of fate, but she had observed something happening with Asta. I was like, okay, so fate is changing in real time. What is this? And she was really confused. And that was before Nero tapped on her magic stone, and she gave it to her. So I think she noticed then that she doesn't need to fight for Vanessa as hard as she has been, because she's going to come back to the Witch Queen, possibly for help. And that Lucius is the one changing and manipulating events, so that Asta can make his way to the bigger fight against Satan, so that he can take the heart, because Asta is the only one who would have been able to get as far as they did with Lucifero. So he needed Asta, just like the Witch Queen wanted Asta, but he needed him for a much higher purpose than she needed him for. I hope that kind of answers your question. But yeah, in the other part of your question. So I think along with it, Vonica could also be like a version of the Witch Queen, like Xenon would be a version of Lucius, if that makes sense, which would mean that Dante could also possibly be a version of Nox's father, because they look exactly alike. And also Vonica does look like Nox's mom as well. So it's just really weird how these things are turning up. But that's what I was saying earlier today. Like, we stopped just short of the realm of Clipot that would explain why we have these characters that not only look so much alike, but have these same core values, and just their character overall is just about the same. Like, what's his name? Alan and Asta and Liabe all look the same. Their characters are very, very similar. Where Alan and Asta is much closer, of course. But that's just because but Asta and Alan have more long-term goals, whereas Liabe only lived for one purpose. So that could easily change, and it looks like it is already. But yeah, we stopped just short of it. So I'm hoping it explains, and I hope there's Bale in that one. I do and I don't, because that would explain a whole lot. And I mean, I guess the essential reason for it is because Bale is Beelzebub, but at a lower functioning rate, right? So just like Lilith and Nama are lower forms of Aishet Zenonim, where Aishet is all the way in the last parts, the deepest realm of the Qliphoth, as well as Beelzebub, and their counterparts, or themselves, their lower selves, are in the higher aspects of the Qliphoth. So, like, it makes a lot of sense. So I was just really curious, because in Crowley's Qliphoth, it's Asmodeus that comes next. So we'll see what happens. Alright, Zaldonix. Wait a minute. Yami says he doesn't know any light mage, but he knows King Augustus, who has light mage. Wait, he did say he doesn't know any light mages. Well, he could easily be saying, like, any living mages, as well as, like, active mages, right? Because everyone knows Augustus has light magic. So it's just, like, kind of nitpicking the word. Kardik, will Lucius succeed in making undying body? I think he already has. I think the undying bodies that we have that are just slightly incomplete. Asta would be the slightly incomplete one. I think Yuno is the perfect body now. The only incomplete thing about him would be that he may need to despair, get that 5-leaf, so that he can have the devil aspect of himself, since the elves are more closely related to the upper realms, I would say. So having that nice mix, and the fact that he's a human, will allow him to get even stronger than just having that static power level. But yeah, I think he's already somewhat achieved it, and I think the closest that we're looking at it is actually Lucius himself right now. what got released. I don't know what got released, so I don't know. He might be barking up the wrong tree. Black Knight, Megicula and Zachary can also modify their bodies by themselves. Like this, I wouldn't say they modify their bodies. Are you talking about like their wings and how she's got eyes on them and he's got mouths, or something else? I want to be clear. Um, Basically inversion. I'm not quite sure what that was in response to. I'm sorry. Booth. I think Vonica is dead. Hopefully the try. Yeah, I think they are effectively dead. Um, I think the Advent was specifically set up for them to die. Yeah, specifically. Not only just for them to die, but for the first seal at the very least to be released. And they definitely wanted Lucifero out so that they could take his heart. So uh, the whole plan, and you guys can go back into some of my videos towards the beginning of this arc, is that this whole plan of the Advent of Clipot that was going to take a whole week to accomplish was wildly unrealistic. And there's no way that they expect that the Triad, as they were, yeah, they were really strong, but to go raid 3 different kingdoms and then go back to their own once they got what they wanted, and then expect that a full force of all these nations' bests are going to be at their doorstep. To think that they would be able to stop that is insane to me. I don't think that was ever the plan. But I think even unbeknownst to the Triad themselves, they were set up to die so that Lucius could come back. And there's a whole thing. I don't think it's going to be a video, so I don't mind going into it. But the thing is that when... Oh, it's hard to explain, man. Here we go. But when someone dies in these philosophies, right, their shadow does descend into hell, regardless of the outcome. So the person, the typical person, exists in 3 places. First place is hell. Second place is earth. And the last is heaven. But it's a point of realizing all of this and coming back into one, where you reach perfection. So, for the first seal to be lifted, I think it just means that now we can let these energies flow out of the Clipot without any hindrance. Although it doesn't make a ton of sense just because there are other seals that could do the same thing. But who knows? Black Clover rules. So, with that lifted and then them 3 dying, I mean, where else are they going to go? They've done nothing but bad, so they would probably go to hell. So now, with them joining back up, there's even talks about, the river Styx, and there's another river that flows deeper into hell, where you essentially have the chance at redemption, and the person that gives you that redemption, the one that drives you to find it, is actually Beelzebub, and he'll send you right on back once you've learned your lesson. So legitimate lesson has to be learned, which is why I've been leading into this whole Lucius being a more benevolent evil than more of like a maniacal, just maniac wanting to destroy things because he can. I think that he'll be using the powers of evil to ultimately get to something much better. But it's, like I said, it's a more convoluted subject to go over, but hopefully that kind of gives you the gist of what I'm saying, though. Okay, I'm going to read like a couple more, and then I want to go back to this. How many chapters do you think Tabatas... Dude, yeah, I'm not the person to ask about that. I've got no concept of, like, manga writing stuff. I have no idea, dude. Hopefully like a bajillion. That's probably as close as the number that you're going to get from me. Hey, I want to know, what are the ways to open the gates of heaven in demonology? In demonology, there are none noted. In angelology, again, there are really none noted. It's not so. I say this a lot. Clipot is more physical than the Sephiroth. And the Sephiroth are more of the... I hate using this word because Black Clover has killed it, but they are concepts of higher thought levels and stuff like that. Um, so the gateway is the person themselves. And I don't mean to sound cheesy about that. That is legitimately just what it is. So there's no real gate. In the exception of for Metatron, the highest angel, like I explained in the video as well, uh, that that guy was plucked out of time and space by God, by hand, and turned into the highest ranking angel that people unbeknowingly call God and worship as God. So yeah, that would be the only other. Dude, stop getting all these notifications. That would be the only like gate, I guess. But other than that, you die. um, yeah, Red Cloak. I got Red Cloak too. I got all the homies in here. Okay, I'm gonna get back to this really quick. I just wanted to go back because I was like, some of my older theories are like starting to make more and more sense. So I just wanted to know what like the talk was with like Julius. Um, Here, these look like conversations. Uh, oh, this looks like the game I was hosting a while ago. There are probably books written by historians or something about individual spells, so people may try to make spells similar to that through training. Otherwise, spells might be rated by Julius or something for whether or not they're forbidden. Oh, okay. Yeah, everyone forgave him. No, we're talking about William there. How do I get to? What is this in response to? Funny how Teti had twins though. Don't tell me I'm not on the right track. Twin gods. Oh. This was back when I was thinking that and Asta were Satan and Moloch. Uh, and not Satan in the way like Lucifero Satan though. Like even I still got that thumbnail of with the word Satan pointed directly at his face. Like I don't mean like Lucifero Satan. I mean like Lucifer Satan. Um, it's very hard to stay like I try to make things as simple as possible, but then like you just have to kind of realize that especially when it comes to devils, things are not as clear cut as they should be, especially when it comes to names. So when you read these, like for any of you that actually research stuff for your own purposes or like for your own theory videos or whatever, just know that when you're reading about any entity, you do enough research to cross the lore. So like if I'm looking at Odin, and I go like, okay, weather, runes, stuff like that, right? Then I would look at something that came later, like Christianity, Judaism, and the parallels they've already been made, but they are obviously there. End up being that Odin is directly correspondent to Beelzebub. Beelzebub is directly correspondent to Zeus, Thor, Baal, all of these, even Moloch. So it's a lot of thinking, counteractive thinking that you have to do, and a lot of deductions and inferences that you have to make. But luckily here and there, spread so far apart, those connections have been either roughly made or just about there. So I think any advice for anyone that's reading into that stuff. Being a devil because I felt like when reading this last chapter, clearly I meant to feel. What was this? I don't know. I didn't mean to pull up like every single time Julius was mentioned, like outside of conversation. But that's what I got. What is this post? Oh, this is like recent though. Why did this show up so far down? Didn't I pick latest? Lucius clears every single antagonist. Yep, still true. We don't even know what he can do. Oh, top. No, no, no. I want latest. I was so confused. I just want to know what the talk was like. Let me get back to this. Hope it's 200 chapters since it's the final arc. Yeah, that's a nice number, I guess. I feel like Beelzebub Bale is the first Clover King, and that's his take of his deal with Lucius. He probably was the OG wielder of the Demon Destroyer sword, Clover on it. Yeah, could be. Who knows? I like the idea. Um, Booty Asta Scrambler. Man, if I had a nickel for every time I had to say that, let me tell you, I would be monetized like by life. Yeah, that's a nickel every second, really. Um, can't wait for BC. Good. I can't wait either. None of us can wait. I don't think. Helix with the Shadow Palace being a spatial construct, right? Well, more so like Nox shadow magic, but also spatial in a way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, House Vod and House Kiris set up to marry into each other, and the Demon Destroyer sword being a good sword for humans and their inferior magic. Okay. Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot of the Shadow Palace. If that's not one of the first things we see, I'll be kind of confused. But obviously, the Shadow Palace goes right back into the Fasts. Um, so I think we can easily just understand that their devils have been, I won't say devils at play, but using devils at least, is nothing new to the Clover Kingdom. And this has been happening for a while, and the stuff going on, like it's not a coincidence that we've the closest families that literally live with each other, like the Vermilions. Uh, well, I'm kind of beating myself up on this point right now. But we have the Vermilions with fire magic. We got Nama. We don't really have any ice mages except for Fragile and Heath. So that's really rare, I guess. Then we have Longreese and Finral, their family, spatial magic, Beelzebub. Um, I don't think it's coincidence that they're all so tight in here. And then we got the Shadow Palace that summons devils or anything the user desires from the underworld. Um, I don't think that's a coincidence whatsoever. So we got to look at that. So there's going to be a lot of politics, I think. Let's see. Has had a knack for picking up extremely advanced techniques. Call me crazy, but I think might fuck around and pull Julius. The kid is too smart not to take info like that and do nothing with it. What he'll do exactly, I don't know. What I'm talking about exactly is something I don't know. This was in 2019. By pulling Julius, what do I mean? Oh, okay. I'm glad Will asked that because I'm confused too. I feel like he might seek out a magic tool like, oh, okay. Yeah, there was a time, because remember, before the first time skip, was flying over Hodge Village, and he's just looking at the Demon Skull of Licht. At that point, I thought he was seeking out magic tools, because they were literally just told by Julius, well, yeah, I'm alive because I used a magic tool, and I resurrected myself. I was thinking, like, dude, if I were a mage at that point, I'd be like, oh, okay, let me find a magic tool, because if I die in combat, I want to come back on some Jesus resurrection shit too. That's just me though. Maybe I'm built different, but I was hoping did that. It doesn't look like he did, but he easily could with that magic stone that he has. Because I mean, what's the point of getting all this information, right? Of like how to be a broken mage, and all they do is take notes from Julius. And then you find out, like, that particular stone that you've carried with you your entire life can draw. Its specific duty is to draw things from the underworld that you desire. So, like, if he's not already doing some experimentation with it, I think he's dropping the ball himself. But not to say he can't just pick it up instantaneously like he does everything else. So, who knows? What else? What was the talk? No, it's kind of the same with Julius. That dude was straight up flying. Yeah. So now, what are the explanations for Julius flying? Right? Were they invisible devil wings? Who knows? Who knows? Roku. Do you think Liebe could be the other twin of Litten? Yeah, that was, bro. I'm telling you guys, older older Jack was on some shit. Or younger Jack, I guess technically. I'll show you the video, or not show you, but show you where to find it, what it's called, and all that good stuff. Or not. What? Let's just go to the channel, I guess. But yeah, I do. I think he's the one that died. Um, yeah, I think it makes sense to me because remember, and this is the main thing I stick out on, is that in the Elf arc, when they're fighting Zagrid, um, Asta grows proportionately to Yuno. Um, and as Yuno levels up, Liebe then levels up with him. And not to say Asta had no part of that, because obviously Asta did. But Asta was torn to to ribbons. He was barely holding on at that point. But to level up as he did, it just told me even more so that this has to be one of those sons. It was this one. Who is Liebe? Why is Liebe? Right there. Someone commented, one of my favorite comments, it's in the top 5, on this one is, how is Liebe? In which I responded, he's doing great. And he still is. But yeah, it's this one. So if you guys ever want to watch that, definitely do it. But some of these older videos definitely... this one right here. Very, very plainly written, actually. Liebe, the son of Licht. Yeah. I think I had one more before this. Because I remember this was one of my opening theories. Right after predicting that Licht was the ancient devil and that him and Lumiere were friends. Sheesh, these thumbnails were something else, I'll tell you that. If you've never seen me, that's me. Sheesh, these are old. Where do demons come from? Sorry. This is back when I was talking about Boruto as well. Those were different times. Let's see. Closing in on Asta's devil, Yuno's connection. So this is actually the earliest video, I do believe, of Liebe, of me thinking that Liebe was the son of Licht. And this is before we even knew that there was a twin involved. Interesting videos. I might have to rewatch them myself. Because as I was saying, as we keep getting further and further in, some of these are turning out right. And back then I was more so really bad at short-term predictions. I still am really bad at short-term predictions. But the long-term ones are starting to come out. Adrenaline gonna be chilling for the entire... Probably, dude. He probably got hooked up with an undying body and has been chilling in the public without causing any trouble whatsoever. Maybe one thing here and there, but I think it'd be cool if he was just chilling too, though. Roku, that theory surprisingly still gets shit on. It does. It's definitely I think my audience's least favorite theory of mine. A lot of people are just not on board, and that's all right. There's still some holes in it, I guess, but there are definitely legitimate and very strong arguments that can be made as far as Liebe being Licht and Tetia's other twin son. I think Yuno will separate from his elf spirit, and that elf will win the throne for Clover because he's technically still a million. That would be the best host for Beelzebub and Bale's return. That's interesting that you say that. So part of this next video that I'm talking about Yuno on is going to be talking about a lot of alchemy and magic, just in the real life occult aspect, right? And the whole point of they do talk about perfect vessels, and that's why I talk about the Atlanteans, the Hyperboreans. But the point of alchemy, right, is to create the perfect thing. And the common thing that people know about alchemy is that it's the transmutation of other metals into gold. That was the end point, right? That's how you create riches out of nothing, essentially. So, but the idea is that you have to have fair exchange, If you know anything about like stoichiometry, that's exactly what that really is, right? So just finding that balance while still achieving something higher than something started out as. So, one of the points to bring up is that in order to reach this perfection, you also have to be able to split something apart and then bring it back together again. That's the only way it becomes perfect, right? So you might be right in that sense, right? That for Beelzebub's, manifestation, that the separation of these things is essential. But then the next operation would have to be joining them back together, which is why I'm really liking the Lucius being the actual Dark Triad, or the Dark Triad being Lucius, but split into three. So it's definitely one of those sort of ideas. But Helix, yeah, I feel like you're kind of on the money there. Jack, hello. Dude, are you still on Twitter? I have not seen any of like your posts or anything. I've like I was just thinking about it like not too long ago. Booth, Black Clover power progression is going to be insane. Yeah, probably. I was kind of saying in the beginning though, like if they don't know what they're training for, like they don't know like a really big fight is on the horizon, so they might not be training correctly, which is the big issue. I don't. I tagged Broku in this. Oh, this was back when people were still saying Julius was not arcane. But let's say this. Actually, that's a really, really cool point. Broku, if you're still here, your opinion might be needed. So, what does that tell us about... I think this tells us quite a bit, to be honest. But arcane mages are very special. We have very few of them, right? Thing is that we have met no devils that have arcane magic, with the exception of Magicula and now Osteroth. Those are arcane mages. So, like, what does that really say? Because I don't see it being really possible for a Supreme Devil to beat another Supreme Devil. I just don't think, or any devil for that matter. I don't think it could happen, because Lilith and Nama, super unarcane. Now, not to say they don't have arcane qualities, but it's still very different from being arcane stage, right? So, to me, what that means is that Astaroth's background, before he became a demon, was the goddess Astarte, which would be more angelic in nature. This is an argument I brought up a while back, was that I think the arcane mages are the ones that are closer to a heavenly realm than other mages might be. And then, who else did we have? I said Astaroth, okay. And then Magicula. Now, you guys should already know, I think she's Aishet Zenonim, under a different name. And Aishet Zenonim is important because she's linked to what's called the Shekinah, which is actually God's wife. And not God's wife, but like Metatron's wife. So I think it should say something that the two, like, angels, like, and the Shekinah, it changes. There's a dark Shekinah and there's a light one. It just depends on how things are going. And then Astaroth, I just want to make sure I don't misspeak when I say this. Astaroth is the only god from that pantheon within the underworld. That's a big deal, at least. And I don't mean like Canaanite gods or anything like that. Those are run of the mill. But yeah, so that means they would be closely linked to more divine powers, right? So I think that's proof that maybe our arcane mages are able to defeat them. And as we see, Saint Stage achieves the same results, and they have halos. So I don't know. Maybe that could be a thing. What's going on, Shelly? Brokey, bro, I remember when the BC Reddit attacked me for thinking Yami was like, why? Why? What? Oh, and Yami is arcane, and so is Lucificus then, right? But yeah, Lucifugio Focal is not any part angel though, which is interesting. Huh. Well, that's a bit of a wrench then. Because yeah, Lucifugio Focal, he fell with everyone else. Is apparently the legend. But yeah, that would be something different then. That's interesting. Interesting. I'll have to think about that. But yeah, yeah, people were definitely on. Yeah, on you specifically, Broku. I'm talking about how Julius was an arcane, Yami wasn't. That was ridiculous. That was not a time I need to relive in this fandom. What did I say? They might be after Julius too, or the fifth leaf was right. R.I.P. Fifth. Was right, and he sold them out for some reason. Yeah, right. Dante knows too much about Yami and Julius to know two for that matter. The plot thickens. Yeah, that's the thing. We also have to find out how far back Lucius was playing. The obvious consensus is since chapter one, which is believable, because someone had to tell Dante where to find the exiled Black Bulls whose base is mobile. Also had to tell Xenon when and where to strike the Golden Dawn, and conveniently not invite William to this captain's meeting. And then, of course, we just had Vonica, who already broke into the Heart Kingdom before, so that was a regular thing, I guess. But yeah, I think there's just one of those things. There's a lot going on in Black Clover that we were already questioning. So I'm really glad this whole Lucius thing was not labeled as an asshole, because there's been a lot of things. Dig Fillet, that's a cool name. I think it was a mess up translation. I'm pretty sure it's Yami's thoughts, because he's. Oh, this is the whole monozone thing. I forgot what he said about monozone. Okay, he predicts my movement by monozone and reading key. Doesn't reach the level of Julius though. I remember this. Okay, so here we were just really confused, or I was really confused, because we don't know who's saying this specifically. You obviously take it as Yami saying this, but Dante wasn't using monozone. So for Dante to know about like key, he would have had to have had, in-depth intel about Yami, which I'm sure he did at this point. And then the whole monozone thing. Monozone, even when it was introduced by Mario Leona, seemed very rare in and of itself, and that a lot of mages just didn't know about. So there's also that. And then he says doesn't reach the level of Julius though. So like this, let's say this first. If Yami is saying this, then it wouldn't make sense, because again, Dante was not using monozone or reading key. But if he was, then like it's kind of weird, right? But then if this is Dante talking, obvious signs of having deeper intel on Yami than just running up on him. And then to mention that it doesn't reach the level of Julius kind of brings it to like maybe Lucius has been around for long enough and definitely had interactions with the Triad, up to like obvious training, because if it doesn't reach the level of Julius, it's obviously had an encounter. Broku, was it you and I again talking? I think it was with Buzz and WK actually, where I think it might be a cool idea, because I think Buzz brought in the idea of like the other countries outside, like the other continents, being okay. This is what he's saying. So Buzz was saying that time within the Clover continent, like that whole continent, is different, and it goes by, I think, slower, he said. Whereas if you left that continent, it'd go by faster, so that like all of Yami's relatives would just be dead, right? And that's when I opted for the idea that what if the entire continent is in a monozone, so that it would explain why even on the battleground against Lucifero, where Julius is so far removed physically that he's able to still manipulate time. And you can only do that if you're in a monozone, right? So I really like that idea that, time outside of this continent is completely different and probably just normal, I would say. And there is no Yami's mom and dad anymore, at least. And who knows? Like, hell, we've been talking about Hungry Joker and like it getting revamped with some of the things introduced in Black Clover, or even getting mashed up into Black Clover while it's ending and then going straight directly into Hungry Joker. Like, what if time did move a bit slower here, and maybe this other continent is actually more progressed as far as science goes, and magic just doesn't exist there. Who knows? Who knows? Anything's possible. All right. Let me. Juan. I don't have a particular person in mind when I said this. It was more so in general, since I remember seeing Julius' thing a lot. And I just wanted to wait before I said anything. I didn't mean to unintentionally come for you. Quan's always coming at me, dude. Hate Quan. Just kidding. What'd he say? And this is why you should wait for officials. Yami was talking about himself, not Dante. Wait, what? Oh, was it when I was reading an official? Or unofficial? Okay. Let's see the comparison thought. Doesn't reach the level of Julius. Come on, go to the next one. Hurry up. I'm reacting to is such a huge difference, good lord. Okay, so I see that. For it makes him using Monozone. I'm not on the... So that's... Okay. That's embarrassing. So that explains a whole lot then. What a massive, massive, massive fumble. Who was doing all the translations back then? Was it still Black Cow? So I feel like they're a bit more thorough now. There are still some, and I don't mean to like trash whoever's doing this, but like I still feel like there have been some really, really big fumbles as far as translation goes that shouldn't really be there, right? Like, there's a pretty big difference between I'm and he. There's a pretty big difference. So that's a really big misstep. But lesson here: wait for the translations, because that is a massive, massive, massive difference. Again, people coming at Broku just like, I don't know why you guys come at Broku. Like, almost all of this shit just turns out right. Oh, again, it's Broku. Julius is an arcane? Right. Asta's not captain level? Right. Noel can't clap a captain? Right. Quan is better than Jack? Oh, fucking facts, bro. I don't think I've made any extensive like Twitter theory on Julius, so I might be just looking, and this might be a farce. But I've definitely made videos of. Let's see. Give you guys some reference videos here. Is this the yeah? I definitely have talked about Noct, Julius, and Yami, as well as Damnatio, being traitors. But I guess obviously not Damnatio now. But yeah, Black Clover, Noct, Yami's hidden agenda, obviously with Julius in there. But it might be like less of a hidden agenda more than it is them being manipulated and then falling into a bigger plan that does not benefit everyone else. Man, these were the days. Thought Dante was getting played by Belphegor. Belphegor's coming up, guys. It's coming up this time. Can't avoid it. Can't avoid it. Um, Low key hoping that's like Lucius's like buddy though. Low key, high key. Um, Broke, you dropping that video on Saturday or Sunday? Good, cool. I'll definitely be able to see it. Fanlations did get a lot better. um, God, those days back, they used to be like way, way off, like horrendously off. But now they're pretty minor. But there have been some really minor mistakes that turn into mountains, and very basic stuff. I think it's just rushing, honestly. But I can only imagine how like stressful getting these leaks out are, especially when you're like juggling other series with it. You can probably get a little bit mixed up, and that's fine. We're human. Um, Now thinking about it, if Beelzebub takes over Yuno's elf spirit, what happens to Belle? Does she become a spatial spirit? I mean, so I don't think that he would end up taking over the elf spirit. That's the part that's essential, because it is closer to something more divine, right? So in order to create something more perfect, you would need the best of both worlds. But remember, there's also three parts to a soul. So that was the point of me saying that it might be worth it for Yuno to despair if Yuno or a human in general can despair. But he should be able to, being half elf. Thing is that they would need to get that elf to despair. And that would be a tricky thing, right? Because then it's more so the background spirit that's tainted and not Yuno himself. So it would be interesting. But I think what we're looking at is that Yuno is, for the lack of a much better explanation or detailed explanation, is Lucius slash Beelzebub already. And this hiding out in Julius's body is just temporary, in my opinion. But that can go so many different ways. There's a lot of room for error here. But I think, yeah, it's a good question. I think a lot of people have been asking it since we understood, that someone who despairs no longer has that attachment to their grimoire, right? It becomes a five-leaf grimoire that no longer has any attachment to the soul that it belongs to. So it would be interesting to see what happens with Belle too. Yeah, we really don't know. I mean, Finral trained under the Wind Spirit Guardian. Maybe they're related. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Also, does look a lot like that guy. It's weird. I was thinking that he's going to reboot Hungry Joker as a sequel to Black Clover, with Liu Bei becoming like Heidi in Black Cloververse. Maybe. I don't know about Liu Bei becoming Heidi, though, because Heidi is really smart. Not to say Liu Bei's dumb, but he's just not like that cerebral type person. Devil, I don't know. But yeah, I see where you're going, though. And I think we already had this conversation, right, Shelley? I think it would be kind of cool if, like, wires were crossed where Asta belonged in Hungry Joker and Heidi belonged in Black Clover, but they happen to just fit where they are, due to, the Eureka's in Hungry Joker and due to anti-magic actually having a home in Black Clover. So, yeah, I don't know. There's definitely room for a crossover / sequel, though. It's definitely in there. Or prequel for Broku's thought. It's definitely there. The connections are so there. This is why I'm like waiting on Broku to like drop that video. He made one particularly really cool connection that literally no one else has ever said about Hungry Joker, or even tried to come up with. So, ready to see how you guys take that information, though. Also, if you haven't read Hungry Joker, do so. It's what, 25, 24 chapters? 25 with the one shot. It's easy, and I read it as I was talking to Broken in the same night. Like, it's a lot to read. It's a lot of information jumbled up, especially towards the end, because they had to rush it since they were getting canceled. But it's definitely a one-day read, easily. Might do it again, actually. But there's like these small little details, like I pointed out as I was reading with like Broku, um, Chitose, the one of the protagonists with Heidi, they go to her room, and in her room, she's got two sheep, and in the middle, she's got a giant sheep, and they look exactly like Charmy's sheep. What else was in her room? There was, oh, she had like these 5-leaf clovers on her curtains, and yeah, they're just all those little, Easter eggs are already there, well before he ever made Black Clover. So I'm really wondering if he was planning Black Clover, and Hungry Joker just happened to not have worked out for him. But what a masterful resurfacing of a dead series, though, right? I mean, I get frustrated when I make a theory and then I go over it. Like the thumbnail for this video was supposed to be an entirely different video where I thought that Lucius had the explicit power to bestow and take away grimoires from certain mages, right? That was the initial thought before I came up with DNA magic, which still allows him to do that. However, it was just like really upsetting at a point where it's like, dude, this would be so cool, but this just can't happen. Like, it just won't happen. It doesn't make any sense. So like having to like trash it just makes you want to rewrite it in a different way. So it makes you bend your brain more. So if Tabata kind of went through that, I can understand why he'd want to go back to like his roots and, finish the story he set out to make. Because honestly, and I'm being completely honest, I think Hungry Joker can/will be and could have been a much better success than Black Clover is right now. It is so cool to me. And had they not had to rush it, it would have been a masterpiece. But, timing's important when you release that sort of stuff too. So, like me talking about the Spirit Guardians now wouldn't get any views, right? Because no one cares. But yeah, it's the same idea. I don't think, no one's really talking about Julius here. But I did leave a post. Oof. And Charmy's in on this too. So like, oh my gosh. So remember, I tell you guys that Beelzebub is related to Odin, Zeus, Thor, Baal, all those guys, and Moloch, and more. But those are the big ones. And remember, Odin has the two wolves, Shakti, Hekti, or Hakti, whatever. And Hakti is the one that is related to, that is Fenrir. But to have, and this part is something WK pointed out, was that Odin's ravens, one has something to do with like memories and stuff. And of course we have Marks. This is right hand man. And then you have Charmy, who's got the wolf. And he's got this wolf just in the tuck. And it's funny that he asks Yami that, oh, is this your daughter you never told me about? And, I'm thinking it's going to go back to like Lucifagus being intertwined with Yami. And then Charmy, remember, Fenrir is, I won't even say more or less. Fenrir is known for being a glutton. He ate everything. He was unstoppable. Who else is the god of gluttony, though? Or the demon of gluttony? I'll leave that one for the chat. You guys tell me who the demon of gluttony is. And then we'll see why this just goes all the way back to some stuff we've already been talking about. It's just wild. And the Black Bulls just seem to be intentionally put together. And there's no reason why Luck's new form should be more demonic in nature than it is anything else. Could have easily just been like, a lightning armor or something like that, but it wasn't. He has a tail, he's got horns, he's got wings, he's got devil-looking markings on his cheek that do look like what Lyra had, sure, but they are just pitch black. When he smiles, it's about the same. What else? He's got the orbs Asta has. Like, the Black Bulls were specifically made for whatever purpose that Lucius has out for them. And this might have been so far back in Yami's head that he just simply didn't remember, like, why he was picking out these specific mages. Because Even Dante points out, you've got a collection of arcane stage mages. Like, what's the deal here? It's something's going on here, and we're gonna find out. But anyway, I think this is the post that I asked if you guys wanted to talk about anything specific. Oh no, it wasn't. I wonder. I don't know what position Asmodeus has in the clip art, but I think he's generally associated with the sin of lust. So he should. Yeah. So I'll answer that in real time. I don't know if you're watching. But yes, he's the demon of lust. However, he's got very little to do with lust. Actually, Asmodeus is the demon of cock blocking, which is interesting. So you look up a legend about Asmodeus with the legend of Sarah and Raguel, the angel. And Sarah was supposed to have been married to some guy. And as Sarah kept finding love, Asmodeus would keep getting in the way and killing that guy until she met up with an angel who protected that from happening. So lust really was not a part of the plan. The thing that's special about Asmodeus, though, is that he is the only... I'm thinking, sorry. But I think I'm right here. He is the only full-bred demon in the underworld. While everyone else is fallen, there might be some philosophies that do have Asmodeus as falling, but those aren't popular. This is Satan and Lilith's son. So he's attributed to fire. So in Judaism, in the Zohar, I believe, when you go to hell, you go to the realm that Asmodeus rules over, and that's the realm of fire. So this is when I get into the thoughts about Dante's Inferno, was that there's a thought out there that he never reached Satan. Actually, he was actually within Asmodeus's realm. So what's so crazy about this realm is that there are actually 9 levels to this hell, in just that one realm. So they believe that he was descending those levels, but only in that one realm. And when he got to the bottom, he met Satan's son, who is Asmodeus. And they even go as far as to call him like the little Satan in Judaism, because the lines blur so much into the popular belief of what Satan is. This red pitchfork wielding, devil that lives within the flames with damned souls. When actually, that's all Asmodeus. So it's a very interesting thing. But to answer some of that question, the position depends on what clipot you're looking at. Crowley's, he is the next one from Adremelech. But in some of the more traditional ones, he is higher up. He's actually higher than Osteroth. Who knows? It's kind of tricky. But from what we've been getting, it looks like we're going with Crowley's. So he should be next. But we will see how Tabata takes that. What else? It was this one, I think. Sorry, I just want to make sure I'm also answering the people on Twitter. I did give them the opportunity, and I kind of forgot. Yeah, it's this one. Oh no, I'm the only comment on here. No one wants to talk about anything with Jack. What was I thinking? So let's see what you guys are saying in the comments now. Oh wait, no, did I get something? Sorry, I guess I still don't know how to work Twitter. Oh! Yeah, so if you haven't seen it, this is my need dead list in Black Clover. So I need Nash dead, Henry dead, William dead, Fuegolian dead, Nash dead, Mariolona dead. And if I haven't mentioned it already, I do need Nash dead, like expeditiously. Yeah, I think Augustus is being used, so he's not on that list. So he won't die anytime soon, I don't think. And yeah, he thinks I'm evil for wanting Mariolona dead. She's an awful. I don't mean like written character. She has an awful attitude, and I hate Mario Leona. She's the worst. So, there's that. What? I'll skip that for now. What else? Shelly, you're writing a lot. I hope Black Clover has a return like One Piece. Tabata, you had 3 months. See, I don't know, RT. That's a little. You don't believe in Tabata? Like, he really just set us up with, like, one of the greatest chapters in histories before a hiatus. And you still have that. Tabata, you had 3 months? RT. Okay. Shelly, what are you saying? Jack, I noticed something when they leaked info in the upcoming chapter. It says it's going to take place a year, and the Black Bulls got summons on a. Oh, I didn't see that part. No one's mentioned that. Where did you find that part? That the Black Bulls are on a rescue mission? Because that would be important. And also, all of your arcane mages would be out of the way. So, excluding Yuno, but as we talked about, we probably want Yuno close to Lucius. Fenrir eats everything. Sounds like every time. Yeah, really? Yeah. Maybe was Fenrir the first like canine ever? Not ever. No, because you do have Anubis, but he was like a god, and Fenrir isn't really counted as a god, so that'd be interesting. That'd be really interesting, actually. I'll make some chains out of cotton, and I'll tie my dog up in it and see if that works, because she eats everything too. Tabata has written that fantasy is more. Tabata has written that fantasy is more style, like the one shot of Hungry Joker instead of sci-fi Hungry Joker series. Oh, I didn't know he wrote that. I think his science stuff was super cool, but as I've come to learn, you really can't have one without the other. Their histories intermingle very well, so it's I think. I don't know. Given like what I've come to like research going through this series with you guys, I wouldn't be surprised if Tabata went through some of the same like epiphanies as I have, as well as that like, oh shit, well this is like you can't talk about this without talking about this. You can't talk about magic without talking about science, right? Because like, okay, yes, magic is magic, and magic is due to like what the magi can imagine. Man, there's a lot of in there. Magic, imagination, right? Goes hand in hand. However, there are matchups in Black Clover, right? Where if we have, let's say, Leo Vermilion going up against Noel, Noel's going to have a type advantage. Type advantages exist. We did see that with Nozel and Patri, Dark Elf Patri, but still about the same nonetheless, right? There's a science to that magic, right? The only magic thing about it is that they're able to just make it out of nothing, right? So it's not actual tangible manipulation of something, but something sparked by the mage's imagination, and then from there science does play a part. And that was one of those things in Hungry Joker that separated these like demigods, like Heidi and his partner that looks like Yami and is kind of like or by the way, that guy, the sound guy, he's got the Black Bulls logo like on his earphones. Like he's obviously got the Yami parts, and Broku did mention like he's also kind of like as well, where he plays that cool guy, but he does freak out a bit, kind of like Yami does, like sporadically. So it's really interesting how that works. But anyway, the thing that separates those guys using the Eurekas against the Mavro, the actual full-bred gods, or that these demigods like Heidi can evolve that power, right? So Heidi's got the power of gravity, and we can even directly compare how Heidi uses gravity versus how Lucifero uses gravity. And this is the big difference. If Lucifero is a Mavro, which he is equivalent in this series, Heidi's able to make the gravity do things that Lucifero could not, because Heidi has a deeper scientifical understanding of how gravity interacts with the world around him. Whereas Lucifero is just all about being strong, and he's about domination. So all we see is presence of the Demon King. And then we can even apply this to like Dante using the spells that he had. Now, this might go into like the lore behind grimoires, which we have yet to get, but it looks like we're kind of getting there. And if we kind of take what we get from Hungry Joker, we can make some inferences, right? Where the grimoire kind of does the thinking for you. And these are, and you think about a grimoire in real life. Also, there's this new grimoire that they found. It's a Latin one, and I'm gonna get it. It's the most wild thing. It's so crazy. I want to get it though. Yeah, I gotta wait. I've got so many books on my wish list. But if any of those books bring in demons, it'll be this next grimoire for sure. But anyway, I kind of forgot what I was saying. But yeah, the kind of the first documented like in pieces of information about the world around us and how to use it to your benefit, to someone else's downfall, and so on. Now they start getting more and more mystical as you dive into like darker forces, light forces, and you could even say that the Bible can be counted as somewhat of a grimoire. However, as it got diluted throughout history, there are no things like spells or any hints of magic because that was hidden away around Cornelius Agrippa's time. So that was hidden specifically by the Romans, I believe. So now the whole agenda is that, oh, magic is bad. You know, when you get to like the common sects of Catholicism, Christianity, and Judaism, it's all just bad. Now, Judaism accepts it a lot more than the latter. However, it's still kind of frowned upon. So it's just interesting how those things work. So the grimoires could act in that same way where they're taking subconscious experiences, not subconscious experiences, but taking experiences and subconsciously running them through, the brain and the processes of it to record like. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get like simpler words out, but just trying to, it's helping the mage make sense of something, even though after they acquire the spell, they might not have that scientific understanding, if you get what I mean, right? Anyway, it could work like that for these grimoires as the mages start moving towards science. Hopefully they do. Okay, I got Shelly and Helix going off in here. Okay. Helix, Mars, and Fauna, I feel will be with Child next we meet of them. Both of them have an artificial fusion of magic. Crystal, Phoenix, Fire Magic. I feel the Child will have some sacred material to build with. That's interesting. If they have a kid, that would be kind of weird, right? Because Mars is the theoretical kid. As far as the magic goes, right? But that would be interesting. And like, what are we gonna do with? So like, this is the whole separation coming together thing that we were talking about, Helix, right? Where Fauna is like the example of there being more parts to the soul than just the one person, right? Where we have elf Fauna, then we also still have human Fauna in real time. So I wonder if they do get mashed back together to create the more perfect Fauna, who might be stronger. And that person might end up with Mars, and that would be a hybrid as well. That could be something cool that happens. I don't know. But yeah, that's an interesting thought. Helix, is there such a material mythology for reference? Like fire and crystal? I don't. So I'm only thinking about like the most important things. Most important materials would be things like steel, mercury, adamantine, and antimony. And those are the ones that are off the top of my head. Copper, silver. Those are important. And maybe brass. But yeah, I don't know. As far as that specific combo goes, I really don't know. Um, Jack, because remember the beginning of the Eclipse in Berserk, if you've noticed there's a time skip where the Silverhawks, yeah, there is a time skip. I think they'll get the summon to rescue Yuno. Oh, so you want Yuno to be like Griffith. They're saving him. Then who would they be getting the rescue mission from? Is my question then, right? Could just be a trap, right? But yeah, that's tough to say. Who knows? Or maybe it's Julius. Who knows? Helix, possibly the magic attributes to create the material that was used in making Asta swords. Oh, actually, you know what? It'd be really cool to have like a straight up resurrection spell between the two of them, if not their child, right? Because diamonds are built under high amounts of pressure and heat. And then you have the Phoenix reference for Fauna, where the Phoenix rises from the ashes. So, like, a diamond Phoenix rising from the ashes could be really cool. Shelly, I am thinking angels are sealed in the grimoires, like what happened to... That's a lot of angels. Yeah, that'd be interesting. But, man, it would just be... Because we haven't really seen any organization of grimoires. And what I mean by that, like, we would have to differentiate. Because we do have 4-leaf clovers, which are pretty much once per generation, roughly. With the exception of Lumiere's generation, where they had 3 just walking around. But we just have Yuno now. And I mean, I would say those would be archangels, but they're definitely more than just one. So I don't know. Then you just have like the regular 3-leaf ones, which I would just assume would be angels, like lower tier. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm not against grimoires being linked to angels at all. I mean, it would make sense. Then you have Lucifero in that one panel when he's punching Zora, or attempting to, where he's like, "Oh, that goddamn grimoire." Yeah, makes sense. You know, Booty Asta Scrambler. Again, if I had a nickel for every time I had to say it, man. Rich. Also, what gods do you expect to see actually appear? I'm hoping Metatron is Asta, number 1. If not Metatron being Asta, I hope Asta is, or at least Liabe is, Yaldabaoth. As far as gods, I don't think we're going to see Zeus. I don't think we're going to see Odin. Not in the sense that he's now Beelzebub. But I mean, like, I think... I want to put this simply. I think those gods that we see, like how we saw Rill draw Odin, he also drew some other things from that pantheon, just like miscellaneous creatures like a Cyclops and stuff like that. Or Zeus, he's also drawn. Those are gods of the past pantheon, right? And you have Charmy's wolf as a remnant of that distant past. And the elves were lastly included in that. And then it was the rise of humans. So it's a historical linear thing that we're talking about. So I'm thinking we're not going to see gods like that. We're not going to see like a... Who else? We're not going to see a Balder. Nothing like that. But we might see archangels. Who knows? But yeah, just to answer that simply, I don't think we'll see like Greek or Roman gods or anything like that. You sense a Nash hater? No, not me. There's no way. Oh, Shelly, you tagged me in. Was this the one that talks about the rescue mission? Austin and others are summoned. Where does it say it's a rescue mission? What does it say? Let's put our Japanese reading to use here. Okay, so the bold is Black Clover. Duh. If I can find any katakana, oh, like this. Oh, it says Sentakata. What? Sentakata. I don't know what that word's supposed to be. Sentakata. Oh, center cover. Hello. Um, yeah, I can barely make out this hiragana though, and I'm not good at kanji. It's not even legible anyway. So yeah, I don't know. Let's go down the thread, see what's there. Um, yeah, where does it say it's a rescue though? I don't see anything. Yeah, let me know where it says it's a rescue. I would like to read about that. Um, Interesting. Yeah. Anyway, let's see. I kind of wanted to go through these. Sorry, I I kind of lost track of what I was doing. Um, so I wanted to look at some of the theories. See how many are just like trash, how many are okay. There's also have two demons. I remember when this was being talked about. So that one's kind of trash. Because, well, not really. Because, like, credit to Broku, like, Asta might be a hybrid. Like, more than likely a hybrid. Um, Tetia's twins. Yep. Tetia's Revenge. That was an interesting video. I talked about what Tetia might have been up to. Um, uh, when we found out that she actually survived that whole encounter. Um, I had made like the theory that she might have been off like looking for some devils and stuff like that. Highly unlikely, but it was kind of fun. Vonica the Gray. Ooh, the Gray. That was a slept on theory though. That's interesting. Uh, don't have to watch that because I think some of it's pretty irrelevant now. But definitely look up the Gray on your own time. Very interesting group of ladies um, that Vonica still does kind of fit into. But yeah, yeah. Um, I never got to finish. I should. So like this whole Spade encounter. This was the war room. The war rooms were so dope. This was day zero. This was the pre-prep for the war or the raid, excuse me. That they should have done, and this was like 30 minutes prior to the war on day one. So I should just finish it. Damn, I feel like I said that in another stream and I just never did it. Someone's got to remind me. That was fun. Jotun, that's not a word we throw around too often anymore. I don't know if Broku's still in this, but I think it still plays a part. Um, yeah, yeah, Jotun. This is a good one too. It talks. I think it's the first time I talk about like a demonic civil war being fully possible. Talk about Boreas and this is not what you think it is, and then the Agathians. Ooh, yeah, that was a trash theory, but interesting nonetheless. Because yeah, you can look that up. The Aesir Jotun Shuggle. This is again another kind of civil war sort of thing, but also just warring on different sides of the spectrum, which is the Sephiroth and the Qliphoth. These are not the devils you think they are. This is when I was trying to tell everyone that's not Satan and Moloch. It's Lilith and Nama. And this is where we talk about the names, because the names are super important. Asta's father and sister confirmed. That is also not the video you think it is. Understanding everything a new god. I think was this. No, it's not. Yeah, I was talking about Morris. The connections to Balder and Hodor that he has. Will Zagreed come back? Where the famous line, where is he going to go? Detroit? He's got to come up somewhere. Was Sita protecting Asta the whole time? I think it's still possible. Unlikely though. How Raya showed us Lucifero's true power, that ended up being completely, still potentially might be true, but no, as I frame it in this video, it is not true. Because still, there's still answers that we need as far as like how Lucifero in this specific panel, not specific panel, but in that specific chapter, was able to do this with Liebe. And he says that he can do this to any low-level demon. So he never ends up doing it to at least save himself from destruction, right? Because, again, I say it the same way every time. I don't care what anyone says. Liebe is a Supreme Devil. So he took over a lower-ranking Supreme Devil. So why couldn't he have done that to like a Dramelech? It would be a much better fit than the aggregated bodies of all the demons from the first and second clip. It just didn't make any sense. So I had kind of got into the thought of like, it's probably a lot more like Raya's thing because their spheres on the trees are correspondent. But that was back when I thought we were looking at the older version of the clip out where Lucifer is actually mentioned in it, but is lower ranking than Satan. So yeah, that one wrong. Trash. Let me go back to the chat. I don't mean a crystal fire material, but a sacred legendary material that's heavily desired and used for making some strong weapons. Yeah, I don't. So the strongest material, if you want to get super technical, as far as staying within mythology, is actually like cotton, and that's not a lie. That's how they subdued Fenrir. The dwarves made this cotton or cloth, and it stood the test of time. Trapped Fenrir, and Fenrir had already broken out of like, God-made chains and all that stuff. So, yeah, if we want to get real technical, it's cotton, and Charmy's got it already. So, sorry, I believe it could be a rescue. You believe it could be a rescue mission? Okay, I see. I think has confronted Julius that he has. Wait, okay, sorry. I think will confront Julius that he has found out that he's Lucius after his mother told him when he becomes Wizard King, but probably as reveals it was his plan to take over his body. Yeah, I think that's more along the line as to what would happen if it was like a rescue or anything like that. But I think CL knows about Lucius also, and I'm glad you mentioned that. I think there's some Zogratis. I mentioned I needed to know her maiden name because I think it could have been Zogratis. I think it's very possible, actually. But we'll see. We'll see. I think is like Lucius. Because Xenon looks like Lucius. And Tabata was so intentional about like that clash between Xenon and being a style and ideal clash. But they weren't that far off. It was just like these specific decisions that they make set them apart, but they were still the same. And, I've already gone over the psychology of it, but like Xenon is obviously more closely related to Lucius than either of the Triad would be, because they look exactly alike. And so I don't know. I was just thinking like that battle was meant to happen, and he wanted the victor to win, right? And I think he needed it to be, right? Because then I also went back. You have to always like go back and retrace steps to make sure everything lines up. Because remember, Xenon ransacks the Spade Kingdom with his siblings, and he sees escaping with Ralph's father. But then he was like, you know what? You guys go get him if you want. Like, I'm just gonna chill here, I guess. Even though he could have teleported to him easily, he chose not to. So I'm wondering if Xenon always had this idea of Lucius because they are the same, and let go knowing that would be the ultimate vessel that Lucius needs later on. But then we would also have to say, if he knew that, then why would he do it? So then that's why I go back to like, well, we have Beelzebub, who is literally in psychology, and in occult writings as well, has everything to do with the shadow self of a person. So it's very easy to think like, oh, Lucius could have taken over for just a split there, or sent like a message subliminally, just saying like, hey, you don't need this kid. Like, just turn around and walk away. And then that way he still doesn't know exactly why he did that. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But yeah, we also just got to look at like the back of Lucius's head in the first flashback when he was the fourth Zogratis, and the back of Beelzebub's head is the exact same. And we look at the back of Yuno's head, it's the exact same. Like, come on, you guys. I feel like I'm the only one who sees it sometimes, but I've been pointing out here, I've been wrong on many occasions. Yeah, I always have a feeling that it will play out like what happened in the Eclipse arc with Yuno becoming Lucius's true vessel. Yeah, could be. But again, I don't think it'll amount to something as crazy as the Eclipse, though. Maybe not as far as like what Griffith devolved into, but yeah, something very similar for sure. Oh, this is when we talk about Yami being evil in this. May not exactly be true, but yeah. Then we look at what is Lucificus. This is a relatively important one, I think, because again, names are important. The fact that Tabata chose Lucificus kind of threw me off. Not kind of, a lot, because Lucificus is a class of demons. However, if we're speaking strictly Latin, which we might be because Lucifero is also Latin, then Lucificus would be right and not Lucifuge. So yeah, that was back before I knew that information, but I kind of push home that like, it's Lucificus is more so a class of demons rather than it is a name of a devil. But yeah, kind of wrong, kind of not. Contextually wrong. Asta dies. Asta did not die. Liabe did live, and did not. Did actually rise. Actually, that was the last part of that title. So, kind of. Asta just didn't die yet. Hyperborean stuff. Okay. Cool. Also, this one I hope Tabata does capitalize on, because this is the most important part about objectively the most important part about Cornelius Agrippa's entire career in this, as he did pretty much found these Satyr squares, which are special magic, that are both like, it's like grammatical magic and also mathematical magic that works so specifically. Has a lot to do with summoning and banishing and all that stuff. So I hope they go back around to that. It would be nice to see different applications of magic. This doesn't make any sense anymore to me. Why was this a question? Why couldn't it have just been gravity? I don't know. Tabata's got a lot of explaining to do, you guys. I just gotta say. But yeah, just kind of a run through. I wanted to see, like, I had not been through this in a while. So, like, I was just curious, how many turned out right? How many are wrong? Some of these are just, like, dead center, like, still need some explanation in the series. But this one is definitely going to happen, though. These guys are coming back in a more prominent role that kind of reflects how they were introduced. Still outcasts, but they will be serving the side of good. Or obvious good, I should say. But that specific panel, I have this thumbnail in. Sally says she can see things that she couldn't see when she was alive. And if you guys understand, like, even in Berserk, those that are awakened to, these afterlife-ish type of things like fairies, sylphs, salamanders, all of that stuff exists everywhere. There's not just one, but there is a king or queen of them all for sure. But they exist everywhere. It's the literal essence of the world that we live in. So I assumed that she was talking about something like that. And if that's the case, then their third eye has essentially opened, right? Because they've been through a literal death. Where in occult writings, you'd have to go through a more metaphysical death to achieve that third eye to open to see things that you were not privy to before. So I think it'd just be a beautiful, just like full circle for them to also redeem themselves. But again, they would be outcasts because if they can see things for what they are, they can probably see Astaroth for who he is now. Or Lucius, rather. Who knows? But yeah. Yeah, some of these were not bad. You still need more information for, like, pretty much these entire things. This one slept on video, though. If we're talking about materials that are super dope in mythology, this is the video to watch. And this one, actually. Oh, you know what? Sorry. To answer that question, Helix, actually, iron is one of those. Iron is super, super dope. It's what cuts spirits and demons, as mentioned by Cornelius Agrippa himself, and a lot of these other texts that deal with demons as well. Iron is the one thing specifically used as swords or arrows that will definitely hurt something more ethereal than a human, right? Okay, Shelley, yeah, I always have a feeling... Okay, I read that. Helix, I feel the kingdoms will have a time of war. Witch Queen and Heart Queen will go at it. Dwarves and Diamond Kingdom will go at it. And Clover will have their power struggle too. That I would personally disagree with. Because with the reveal of Lucius, it implied a lot. What it implied was that Lucius pretty much runs the entire land. We knew that Julius and Lolopechka were buddies, and became better buddies once the Spade arc actually kicked off, right? And then the Spade Kingdom, obviously with the Dark Triad running it, they're obviously one and the same. So that's 3 out of 4 already. And then we have the Diamond Kingdom, where we had Morris there, but he got kicked out. But this is why this video is kind of important, because that hidden figure, the one who was ruling the Diamond Kingdom, could have been what I think might have been like more of an automaton, which is a relic from ancient Greek mythology, which is like a robot sort of thing, but runs on something called ichor fluid. And this is the blood of the gods, and it's wildly potent, and can act as a poison as well. So when the Witch Queen gave Mars that vial, after that whole Witch Forest arc, to give to the Diamond King or ruler, what I think she gave him was ichor fluid, because he mentions, I think it's right there in this preview, that he'll personally make the Diamond Kingdom a peaceful nation by controlling. He says, then I'll control the king, right in there. So it falls in line with this whole ichor fluid thing. So I think that's something that could be important later. But yeah, I do feel like Lucius pretty much just runs the continent already, by all of those things mentioned. Yeah, the God Eater video. This is the Yaldabaoth one I was talking about. Important god. And is not really good by any means, which kind of... This is a really interesting character in mythology in general, just because Yaldabaoth is not innately good, like, at all. But however, he created everything, but could not and did not give souls to man. That was his mother, Sophia. If you guys ever read yourself, it's called the Pistis Sophia. And she's the one who gave everyone life. And it's the power from her that he stole to be able to create the universe. But in doing so, he lost his power. Now, deeper into that thought, that philosophy, Yaldabaoth does become somewhat powerless. I won't say like completely powerless, but at a point loses power enough to be like the sole god of something. So instead, pantheons were made, like Zeus, other Odin, all those guys, and what fuels these gods are prayers. Now, when they start losing that, they get weaker. And so he waited for the perfect time for these gods to reach a moment of weakness to eat them and absorb their power. So he's stealing that power back by essentially eating himself. It's the wildest thing. But then we get to the more relevant pantheon of the archangels like Lucifer, Beelzebub, all these guys, right? To where you have to think, like when you read these stories, it doesn't matter what mythology, you think, God damn, like these gods are petty as fuck. Like we literally watch people in courtrooms forgive the murderer of like their daughter, right? And then these guys can't let go of like, dude, you took my dagger that I don't even use anymore and sentenced them to like eternities and eons in hell or some hellish place. And so like getting back to this irrelevant pantheon with Lucifer and everyone, you learn like, oh, Lucifer was thrown into hell by God because he didn't want to bow down to humans. He became jealous. That's it? Like, that's like getting caught with like a tiny like milligram of weed in your pocket, and you get sentenced to death by the state or your country. Like, it makes no sense, right? And it poses the question: is like the God that is taught to most of these popular religions, if he is omnipresent, omnipotent, why couldn't he just teach him, this is what I'm doing, this is why, right? God works in mysterious ways is the common thing, and this is one of those things that I like the Gnostic thought process. They don't leave those things up in the air. They try to answer these. So now when it comes to this, Lucifer becomes more or less a hero in the making, where he realizes this person or thing is not what he says he is, and tries to put people onto this, but no one wants to listen except for the others that fell with him. So now we have these demons that are wanting to like destroy mankind, destroy heaven and God himself, and you have to answer like, why? Because they created something new? No. And it's because humans should not exist. Humans are more or less, but more towards the left side, made in the image of Yaldabaoth, which is not a good deity. So the quest to destroy humans makes sense because you don't want these things to exist at all, because they shouldn't be existing. And the fact of the matter is that, remember earlier in the video, I talked about the Bythos, which is the one true God, or the invisible God. You can look up yourself. Doesn't have anything to do with anything here, but is aware of what's going on, but he's so far removed he can't do anything about it. So he sends Sophia back down to kind of, counteract her wrongs, which was separating from him and creating this being that is now just running amok. And so going back into like, there's a playlist on here that describes everything that's meant to happen on the left-hand path of magic. And you meet Satan and Moloch in the last realm. And Satan's specific duty is to send the soul back into the reincarnation cycle. So what happens is he literally yeets you from the last level of hell to the very top of heaven to be introduced to the one true God. And because that's where all things should be in his eyes. And that's because Yaldabaoth is not the true God. Whereas Moloch will send you into a new universe to be a god of your own. Now, this is more of the antithesis and acts more as the Satan that we're taught as, because that is now getting further and further removed from the one true invisible God. It's again, I would just suggest watching that video. I think I explained it much better than I just did, but that's the idea. So pretty interesting. But yeah, that was kind of it. Yeah, these last let's count though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 videos. Best ones I've done so far, by far, by far. I think I'm going to end this pretty soon. I'll read through the rest of these comments for sure. And however long that takes, that's how long it takes. But yeah, let's see. Yeah, Helix and Shelly just going off in this chat. Big shouts outs. Big shouts outs. Feudal Kingdoms. I think okay. So Shelly, I think this is where the Black Bulls will come and get lured into a trap by Lucius to use Leah Bay for his anti-magic. Yeah. Oh, to make everyone magicless. I don't think it'll happen for that purpose. That's interesting that you say that, but I do think everyone will be magicless by the end of this, but for a very different lead up to it. But yeah, I really feel like it's going to involve the Witch Queen as well, to be able to control reality and also fate. He would be unstoppable. If Lucius is working with Belphegor and Raya copy magic, so Raya does not correspond to Belphegor at all. He actually corresponds to Lyra, not Lyra. What was his elf name? I forgot. But Rill's elf. Yeah, it was Lyra. Corresponds to him. So let me finish what you're reading first. Ties with Belphegor too. Maybe Xenon and Lucius are all copies of one another. So yeah, the one who corresponds to Belphegor is Lyra with scribble magic. And the thing that I've gone over it in threads and also on YouTube, is that for Lyra to have the scribble magic to where he can have any attribute that he wants and more, as long as he can imagine it, or paint it rather. It's fitting because that specific realm on the tree. I'll show you. I'll pull it up here. That specific realm on the tree is connected to every single sphere directly except for the last one, which is where Earth is. Clipot and Sephiron. Let's see if I can get a side by side here. Yeah, there we go. See if I can enlarge it. Really cool stuff on Etsy, you guys. Oh, where'd the picture go? Did I pass it? We'll talk about bait and switch. What the hell just happened? Why can't things just be simple? I don't want any jewelry. I want the picture I clicked on this for. Dog. There's no way that just happened. Let me see if there's... This one looks more promising. Oh, look. More Spanish. Maybe it's me. Maybe in a past life I was just Spanish, or I was meant to be Spanish in this life. Okay. So as you see, this side is Sephiroth. You've got Tiferet, corresponding to the sun. Very important, because what's on Lucius's head? A black sun, which is correspondent to Tigirian over here. And you see these are directly connected to literally every sphere here, except for the first or last one, which is Malkuth, which gets all the power from every single one. So this one is a blend of everyone. That's how it's meant to be. So for Lyra to have that magic made a lot of sense. Now for this, it's going to be a bit different. So remember how I've kept saying how the Sephiroth is more so conceptualized. There's conceptual things like love, Even victory is one of them. I'm forgetting the rest because I all I do is look at demons. But anyway, victory definitely because that's hot, and then shit, love another one. Those kinds of things, intangible things, can be found there, and that's essentially what magic is. It's imagination. Now, everything here, this is a concept called the Halls of Amenti. Again, I do suggest you look this up yourself because it's really interesting, and you might come to some other conclusions yourself. But the idea that is adopted even in Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism, is that the maker of everything physical, things like science, literal earth that you're standing on, and the vessel that you are personally in, your body, is made by devils. So the opposite of this to me would be, since he could create anything from his imagination, Okay. It sounds like we're. It seems like we're back. That is completely my bad. Are we back? I think I'm lagging. Uh, yeah. My bad. My where this out. Uh, you really hope Austin will. I do too. I think a digestible route to take. Um, it'd be a cool way to, you know, there's something much greater, and it still means he's not special, but that's what makes him special. That's the exact story of Metatron. So I think it makes more sense than the Yaldabaoth thing. But again, Yaldabaoth more so kind of leans into Liebe more than it does for Asta. But Liebe does seem like the more Lucifer of the two. Um, I think Liebe is Lucifer, to be honest. Um, he looks interesting. I'll check out the video. Do you think Dante will tie into a storyline with Diamond King? Diamond King is looking for eternal life, and Dante can do that with his body magic. I mean, if anything, it would make sense to pair up with Lucius for that. But if Dante comes back, I hope he comes back in a more as a guide, like in Dante's Inferno, how Virgil is Dante's guide. I hope he's like that, because he does seem like he could be wise, but he kind of fell into the wrong path. So, um, yeah, I think okay, smart. So I'll finish up that thought and then I'm signing out. So when the devils they created everything physical, so the idea behind like the whole DNA magic also came from this, where that if Lyra can make any magic that he can imagine, which is a concept, then this Antichrist could create anything they can imagine as long as it's physical. And it will probably stay and has longevity uh, rather than how magic acts. But that's just essentially the idea. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna get out of here, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm super hyped for Black Clover, um, and I think the last theory I hope to get out before the first chapter is going to be about Yuno and why he is the perfect body, and why Lucius is gonna end up snatching his body at some point. So, anyway, I hope you guys look forward to that. I'm looking forward to this last saga, man. I thoroughly enjoyed this series so much, and I really hope Tabata does have plans. Like I've been thinking to revamp Hungry Joker because that series is definitely worth it, and definitely worth a revamp. But anyway, again, you guys, thank you for tuning in. Always hit me up on Twitter. I don't always see notifications. Twitter's really bad at just notifying me in general, so I'm not ignoring you if I don't see it. But yeah, feel free to reach out. I'll see you guys in the next video. It's been Jack Oates to go. You either know